Hello, welcome to the Bible study on human capabilities, grant, and expectation. Module 3, Session 20 of Living in the Image of God. I am Goodluck Ofebu. We welcome you to this Bible study brought to you by Banking Blessings Ministry.
Hello, I am Tochukwu Chiobi.
And I am Ijoma Tochiobi.
We will discuss Christ's teaching to understand that God grants portions of His resources as human capabilities to every person.
Also, we will understand that God expects every person to use, expand, and diversify the capabilities He granted them. God creates every person to represent Him in interactions with others.
To be for others what God would be for them if He lived with us in human form.
He provides resources to empower every person to perform the responsibilities.
Also, He blesses those that do.
Our program seeks to understand the meaning of living in the image of God, resources that God has provided to guide us, and human responsibilities and benefits of living in the image of God. Let's dive right in to learn, test, and share from God's message. In this Bible study, we discuss the parable of the talents to understand that God distributes portions of His resources among people to empower them to perform their responsibilities to themselves and to others. He provides the resources as grants of human capabilities to every person. Further, He expects every person to deploy the capabilities toward their responsibilities to themselves and responsibilities to others. Also, He expects every person to expand and diversify their capabilities by using the capabilities. We will understand that God recognizes two categories of people based on what they do with the capabilities He granted them. One category is the righteous, that is, those that use their capabilities and expand and diversify as a result. God rewards the righteous. The other category is the wicked, that is, those that stagnate their capabilities by refusing to use them. God punishes the wicked. Our Bible reading will come from Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30.
Christ uses the parable of the talents to explain that God grants capabilities to every person.
He grants a portion of His resources to every person according to His purpose for the person.
He grants the resources as human capabilities to empower every person to perform their responsibilities to themselves and responsibilities to others.
The grant and God's expectation regarding the grant are described quantitatively in the parable.
However, they represent both quantitative and qualitative human attributes and the individual responsibilities regarding the attributes. Let us read from Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 through 15.
Matthew 25:14. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them.
Verse 15. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey.
The passage begins with again to help us recall that Christ has been discussing the same subject.
The phrase, "it will be like," announces that Christ is about to describe an aspect of human relationship with God using made-up events and interaction.
The phrase, entrusted his wealth to them, conveys a message that God distributes portions of His resources among people.
The parable describes an interaction between a wealthy man and his servants.
Christ described the interaction to explain an aspect of human relationship with God.
He explains that God grants a portion of his resources as human capabilities to every person.
In the parable, the wealthy man was about to leave his servants by themselves for a period.
He entrusted a portion of his wealth to each servant.
He gave a different portion to each servant based on his judgment of the servant's need and ability.
However, every one of his servants received a portion.
Also, the parable describes the wealthy man's expectation of his servants regarding the resources he entrusted to them.
Christ provides the description to convey God's expectation of a person regarding human capabilities he grants the person.
The wealthy man entrusted portions of his wealth to his servants as he departed for a journey, and expected every servant to deploy the wealth as the owner would if he was harmed.
Therefore, one lesson from the parable is that God has an expectation regarding the resources he entrusts to every person as a grant of human capabilities. He expects every person to deploy the capabilities toward performing their human responsibilities. That is, toward responsibilities to themselves and responsibilities to others. The same way that God would if he managed human capabilities and responsibilities directly in human form. Let's repeat the message so that every person that has an opportunity to hear this discussion can understand the message. God entrusts a portion of his resources to every person as a grant of human capabilities. He expects you to deploy your capabilities toward performing your responsibilities to yourself and responsibilities to others. Further, he expects you to do this the same way he would if he managed human capabilities and responsibilities directly in human form.
Furthermore, God expects every person to expand their capabilities.
That means he expects every person to increase the value of their capabilities, increase their effectiveness, and increase their versatility.
This expectation is described quantitatively in the parable. However, the description represents both quantitative and qualitative enhancement of human capabilities.
Deployment of capabilities leads to expansion. However, non-deployment leads to stagnation. Let's read from Matthew 25:16-18.
Matthew chapter 25 verse 16. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more.
Verse 17. So also, the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more.
But the man who has received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. Through Matthew chapter 25, verse 16-18, Christ describes 2 categories of people as God sees them.
The first category is the righteous. They grow and diversify their human capabilities through use. In the parable, the righteous is represented by the 2 servants that expanded the resources entrusted to them.
The second category is the wicked. They stagnate their human capabilities by refusing to use them. In the parable, the wicked is represented by the servant that refused to work with the resources entrusted to him.
God rewards the righteous, but punishes the wicked.
The righteous grow and diversify their human capabilities by using the capabilities.
That is, the righteous deploy and expand their human capabilities.
They are sensitive to the needs around them. That is, needs of themselves, needs of others, and needs of the environment.
They recognize the need, care for the needy, and work diligently towards providing goods or service to alleviate the need through compassion or commercial enterprise.
Let's read selections from Matthew chapter 25, verse 20 through 23.
Matthew 25, verse 20. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. Verse 21. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. In contrast, the wicked stagnate their human capabilities by declining opportunities to use them. Typically, they are insensitive to the needs around them, needs of themselves, needs of others, or needs of the environment. Either they recognize the need but don't care, or they are not attentive to recognize the need. They make up excuses to dodge responsibilities. In summary, they decline calls to compassion or commercial opportunity. Let's read selections from Matthew 25, verses 24 through 30.
Matthew chapter 25, verse 24. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed.
Verse 25. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. Through these 2 verses, Christ describes that the wicked make up excuses to dodge responsibility. Let's continue reading.
Matthew chapter 25, verse 26. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed?
Verse 28. So, take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10. Verse 30. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
What did we learn in this Bible study? God distributes portions of His resources as grants of human capabilities to every person.
He expects every person to deploy their capabilities toward performing human responsibilities. That is, responsibilities to themselves and responsibilities to others. He expects every person to do this the same way he would if he were to manage human responsibilities and capabilities directly.
He expects every person to expand and diversify their capabilities by using them. He rewards those that do and punishes those that stagnate their human capabilities. This discussion of God's grant of human capabilities and expectation regarding the capabilities is based on Christ's teaching in the parable of the talents.
Please join us again in our continuing discussion of living in the image of God.
Thank you. God bless you. As a teenager or a young adult, I was trying to be analytical about this passage or the parable. like, what if the man who got just one bag was, let's think of two things. If he was like upset that why did he get one while others got more than him, or if he were scared of what if I invested this and made a loss, could that be the reason that he chose to dig a hole and save what he had for fear of making a loss and losing everything?
But the way I would think about it is that that's what stagnation means. Yes, you will be afraid. I mean, so many things you do in this world, you don't know what the outcome will be until you get there. But you have to try, and it is that willingness to try, to challenge yourself. One thing I have found out in doing things is that you discover more when you are trying to do. If you just sit down and think about it, or you are afraid of it, often the initial thing you know is all you know. But if you start doing it, if you start working on it, you discover more and more as you work on it. So I think the penalty here is for the man refusing to do anything. Yeah, if he invested one bag, he could have lost the whole thing, but he could also have gained one more bag.
Okay. We learn from our mistakes. We should not shy away from making a mistake, because mistakes are learning paths to our life. And secondly, if this is biblical and we believe in God, God does not call the prepared, he prepares the called. So all he wanted to see was just the effort, and he would have blessed the effort if that guy only but put in an effort.
Yeah, well, again, to buttress what Ijoma is saying, personally, I look at it because this passage is a great teaching to our attitude to work. Because sometimes you might be working in a place and you say, oh, this job, I'm not getting anything from it, and all that stuff. They're just piling stuff on me, and for that reason, you fail to put in your best, not realizing that your inability to put in your best is also shooting yourself in the foot. Even though you have stress doing that, it's also your source of income and livelihood. So you should be grateful that you have it, even if you don't like it. And then you should try to do your best there to make sure that you're giving it your best chance, no matter what the outcome will be. So, because one thing I also learned from this passage too is, yes, that starting up a business enterprise is an act of using God's blessing to you too. If you have those capabilities and talents and you just say, well, I think I'm making enough money, not realizing that you doing more will be beneficial to a lot of other people around you. And that it means also that you are not doing what God is expecting you. You just have that self-contentment, which is selfishness, not realizing that, hey, even though I have enough for myself and my family, I can do extra to help other people around me.
That's exactly the lesson. The individual responsibility is one of the things Christ made effort to teach us. In every situation, you have your individual responsibility. If you have a job and other people are not doing things right and maybe oppressing you one way or the other, they are doing something wrong, and God will handle that. Your own responsibility is to do the best you can with the situation you have. Expanding capabilities through commercial enterprise, that's this passage, really this parable tells us that. Because somebody was given 5 and he expanded to 10, another got 2 and he expanded to 4. That is profit making from commercial enterprise. Of course, there will be rules, but that's not part of this study.
And mathematically, each of them made 100% profit.
Yes. It was a simple description, I think. I've never thought about it in terms of percentage profit, but I think it's just a simple description to say, look, this person expanded what he was given, and the other person found excuses not to.
And also, you could not go for an interview for a job because you're scared of not getting the job.
Exactly. If you are called for an interview, that's an opportunity. Take it and see what will happen.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us in this Bible study. And we pray that what you heard from us and your expansion of what you heard will make positive impact on your life. Please join us again in our continuing discussion of living in the image of God.
Thank you. God bless you.